Hello, everybody. My name is Mike Torzine. I'm the Speaker of the House, and I've just had the honor to be unanimously voted as the Speaker designee for the next session by our House Republican Caucus of 122 members. We are very excited about the upcoming session, and I'm going to have each of the leaders introduce themselves to you, beginning with our Majority Leader, who has been re-elected unanimously as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. We want to, more than anything else, thank the people of Pennsylvania for the faith and the trust that they've shown in our caucus to lead the General Assembly. To go from a minority of 97 members just a couple years ago to a historic majority of 122 members, I think that's the largest number that we've had since the Eisenhower administration, show that we have been receptive and responsive to the needs of the people that we represent across this state. And we are very proud to stand with our new leadership team today as we move into the next session with 12 new members on our side, and we stand ready to work with our colleagues across the aisle, our colleagues across the chamber, with the Senate, and with the administration to move forward with the principles and policies that the people of this state expect to help move Pennsylvania forward together. I'd like to now introduce our new and our current Majority Whip, Brian Cutler.
Thank you, Brian Cutler, Southern Lancaster County, 100th District. It's a privilege and an honor to be elected back to the whip's position. Look forward to working with the leadership team here on the issues that Dave just outlined. I think we have a very exciting session ahead of us, and I'll defer to the new Appropriations Chairman.
Thank you. I'm Stan Saylor from York County, the new Appropriations Chairman. I look forward to working with our great leadership team. Our philosophy has shown over the last 2 years that we are dedicated to doing the best for Pennsylvania and for our taxpayers and our children. And we will get to work right away. I know the IFO did their report today, and the leadership team is going to work to address those needs as we move forward. Thank you very much.
Caucus Chair. Our new Caucus Chair, Marcy Topol.
Thank you. Marcy Topol for Montgomery County, the 147th Legislative District. I'm very excited to join this leadership team. I know I have big shoes to fill in retiring State Representative Sandra Major, but I'm happy to be part of this team. Our Policy Chair.
Good afternoon, Representative Kerry Benninghoff at our Center, Mifflin County. I too am honored to be re-elected to this position as Policy Chair. Look forward to moving our economy and creating some more jobs here in Pennsylvania through good public policy. I'll now introduce our Secretary to our caucus, Donna Oberlander.
Thank you. Wow. I don't want to move it too much. Thank you for the opportunity to say hello. I am Donna Oberlander, 63rd District, and pleased to be able to serve again as the Secretary for the Republican Caucus. Look forward to working with our 121 other members and our 12 new freshman members. Thank you.
Our new Caucus Administrator.
Hello, everyone. Kurt Mosser, Northumberland, Montour, and Columbia counties, and just really excited to be part of this leadership team and a new dawn, and getting ready to get back to work.
We are focused on fiscal stewardship, private sector job creation, making sure that we have respect for longstanding values, and also transparent and limited government. We've run on those themes. We are very pleased to be here coming into the next session with 122 members. It's very exciting. We certainly will continue to work with our colleagues on the other side of the aisle in moving Pennsylvania forward. And we recognize that there's much work to be done. Much work was accomplished in the last session. And with that, Dave and I and the rest of the leadership team will be glad to take some questions.
That's kind of eye-opening in terms of the deficits being projected here.
Pennsylvania each year has to have a balanced budget. We will certainly be taking a look as we get closer to what the revenues are that are coming in versus the expenditures that are already in place. We recognize that over the past 2 years, just in terms of contributions to the Pennsylvania School Employee Retirement System, we increased contributions from 14-15 to 16-17 by just shy of $1 billion to our general fund budget. $1 billion. We must, in the end, address that cost expenditure, which has really accelerated and has begun to, or has for some time, taken out any growth in the revenue that comes over year after year. As I indicated, there's going to be continued growth in the pension contributions, but it's not going to be as high as it has been the last 2 years. And the first and foremost, we'll look at revenues coming in and present-day expenditures and what those increases are.
Not a crisis in this current fiscal year.
No, we'll manage it responsibly.
Excuse me, Speaker, you still have to balance the current budget because the gambling hasn't been finished, that sort of thing. What are your plans to actually balance this budget before you get into next year's?
Yeah, I mean, look, we've got some challenges ahead of us. I don't think anybody looks at the books and says we don't have some challenges that we're going to face. But we're going to work with our colleagues across the aisle and in the Senate and with the administration to help meet those challenges. As you just talked about, gaming was a commitment made by all 5 parties at the budget table this past summer. The House has upheld its commitment twice now. We expect the Senate to uphold their commitment as well. It's my understanding they have a voting session day tomorrow. They have the opportunity to send that bill to the governor's desk and help fulfill a little bit of that deficit along the way. We would encourage them to do so. And if not, come back at the beginning of the next session and let's get right back at it. There are some challenges ahead of us, and we're going to have to find a way to balance a budget, not just this year, but next year. And that may take a broader conversation on what we expect government to look like in Pennsylvania, restructuring the government as we know it, but working together to work through those particular solutions. We have committed as a leadership team to beginning that budgeting process today. We've talked to our members about bringing forth ideas in November, December, January, not just waiting till June 30th to come up with new budgetary items, because when you're looking at a projected deficit, we've got to take a responsible approach of seeing what's realistic and what's not realistic and trying to get some of those ideas on the table. And we would say the same thing to the people of Pennsylvania. If private citizens have some suggestions out there that they think we should take a look at, we would welcome those ideas, because the new idea box is certainly not closed, and we want to try to work through this together to get Pennsylvania through another difficult budget season.
Ruling out in the next budget cycle any increases in broad-based taxes like sales and income, given what the IFO report is showing in terms of projections?
I think we've been pretty clear with the administration on some of the governor's proposals in that regard. For goodness sakes, the House voted down the governor's original multi-billion-dollar tax package. I think it was June 1st of 2015 unanimously. So I don't think, given the results of the past election, that folks are all that interested in a multi-billion-dollar tax increase. We want to work through this, and we're willing to entertain any ideas on how to do that and any partnerships, Republican, Democrat, administration, legislature, to try to make that happen.
There are no specific ideas currently, correct, to raise the type of revenue that you could raise through a broad-based tax increase at this stage?
I think we are interested in bringing expenditures in line with revenues first, and then look at other revenue possibilities. Certainly, we believe there's some additional revenue that can be seen through completing liquor privatization for the people of Pennsylvania. Wine privatization has gone off very, very well to meet people's expectations. We could take that the rest of the way over the goal line, pick up a couple $100 million. We could have all 5 parties keep their agreement on establishing expanded gaming in Pennsylvania. Depending on how it's done, you could be talking about $400, $500, $600 million as well. So I think there's a lot of revenue opportunities out there that do not involve broad-based tax increases.
The governor signed the next piece of liquor privatization, the 6-pack bill today. Is that a nice kind of year-end cap for what you guys look back on your past session this year?
Do you want to, on liquor?
We are hoping that we can continue to move forward. What happened is it's unleashed the notion that the private sector can do the sale of wine, spirits, and beer better than the private sector. And we think that there are 2 important notions to that. It will bring in more revenue, and it also will let the private sector flourish and do what it does best.
Are you going to actively push for that now for the sale of the state stores? Is that going to be a priority in the coming session?
I think we've been taking fairly significant incremental approaches to privatization. I think one of the items that would bring in a lot of revenue is leasing out wholesale, which we've always talked about. The understanding is that would bring in significant revenue, at least for the next 10 years.
That's next, wholesale versus retail?
It's one of the ideas or suggestions on the table.
Anything else, guys? Well, what about the historic majority here? I mean, what do you attribute that to? Was it Trump's coattails? Some would argue it's redistricting. What's your take?
You know, I think, in all honesty, it's good candidates doing the work necessary to win elections. Because if you look at, since we regained the majority in 2010, we've won in good Republican years, we've won in good Democratic years, we've won in presidential years, we've won in non-presidential years. I think the bottom line comes down to folks believe in our vision for Pennsylvania, and we've been able to recruit good candidates who have worked their tails off to knock on 10, 15,000 doors one at a time and sell their message. So I don't think we could take credit for that as much as the candidates themselves, putting in the hard work necessary with their friends, their family members, and their supporters.
And we are, certainly it was a historic day, but keep in mind we've continued to grow our majority since the 2010 election. Each and every year we've continued to pick up seats that are predominantly Democratic registration, and yet we have candidates that win in those particular seats. That's just because they have just what the majority leader said, they have strong messages and strong work ethic, and it's resounding to the people in those districts. This isn't the first time we've had a pickup. We've gone from the minority to 111, from 111 to 119, and 119 to 122. In many districts that, if you look at the registration of those citizens in those districts, are fairly significant registrants of the other party, but are willing to vote for, leaders who have a strong message of fiscal discipline and private sector job creation.
Early next year, what's your best case scenario? Do you have like a bill or a package of legislation say this is the stuff we want to do January, February? Are you thinking that way?
We just brought our new caucus together with 122 members. We have 12 new members. We're going to sit down over the next 2 months with those members and determine what issues are going to come out of the gates. Obviously there's a couple that are going to dominate the landscape no matter what, the budget being the highest priority. But there's some issues that didn't quite get over the goal line this time around that we're going to want to try to get over the goal line too. And, pension reform is certainly one of those particular issues as well. But most importantly, when you look at, what's been lacking across the entire state is a renewed focus on job creation. Because a lot of these issues go to the wayside if we get people back to work, providing for themselves and their own families, and take away from some of the government spending in the process and have more revenue to invest in good public schools.
President-elect Trump, a lot of his platform is increased government spending to do the job creation, the infrastructure, the steel mills, whatever. Is that something your caucus is willing to follow through on a state level?
We have invested in infrastructure spending just a couple years ago with Act 89, with transportation funding. And at the state level, we've been doing a very responsible job of building out that infrastructure, not just roads and bridges, water, sewage, broadband, internet access as well. We would encourage the federal government to play their role in infrastructure across this nation. And, I think we, like most of America, are looking for Washington, D.C. for some leadership. And hopefully we're going to find that come January.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Brian. Thank you. Thank you, Stanley.